What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Links and Locks podcast, the DFS edition. I'm Jason Sobel from GolfBet. He is Len Hochberg from RotoWire, and we're here to break down our favorite DFS plays and favorite DFS fades for a very big week, the 150th Open Championship at the Old Course at St. Andrews, the final major of the year, the final time we'll see all the best golfers in the world together, at least for this year, and maybe for longer, who knows. This is indeed a celebration, perhaps the greatest celebration in golf storied history, the oldest tournament on the most venerable golf course in the world, and certainly all the big game's best players ready to go out there and try to win this thing. In any case, we're going to break it down for you. Len, what's going on? How pumped are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how pumped are you for this week?
I'm getting there. I'm not quite at a 10. I think I'm probably in the 8.5 to 9 range. And I was writing this morning and I don't know, seem to be trying extra hard to make it a good story. You know, whenever we write, we want it to be good, but maybe there's some weeks we spend a little more time and just want it to be a little better and hope a few more people read it. And this seems to be one of those weeks. So pretty excited.
Yeah, same. I spent pretty much all day writing my preview yesterday. I think I wrote like 4,200 words on this thing. At some point, you go, okay, it's enough. We got a long week coming, so we can't get too into all the preview content. But the first thing, before we start getting into the top tier on DFS, where there are a lot of very interesting selections, you're very good talking about game theory on a weekly basis, Len. For those who listen to us every single week, and for those who are just getting into it for the first time and trying to get some tips on who to play in DFS, give me a little game theory on what you're thinking for this week at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I'm trying to keep my comments under, 40 minutes here. There's there's really so much to talk about. I mean, one thing I was thinking that we so often get into the stats of greens and regulations and strokes gained this and strokes gained that, and it just seems that I don't want to say everything gets thrown out the window this week, but there's so much different about links golf. There's so many different ways to play. You know, I guess for the uninitiated, I would say that this golf course, we'll see the golf ball lower to the ground more than most weeks where golf is through the air on the PGA Tour. And that brings into so many more possibilities. And in terms of what clubs players use and things like that. And I will say that, you know, most of the golfers on the PGA Tour, at least the Americans, this is not their forte. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for golfers we're not as familiar with to play well this week. You know, one thing that was really interesting, I look back at the last 4 Open Championships this decade, and the scores were between 15 under and 19 under. I think everyone is expecting this to be like a bloodbath, like a 3 under Oakmont US Open type thing. And it's just not the case. But I think the most imaginative players who were able to play really well around the greens and do all kinds of different things with different clubs, we've seen them in the past. I think they'll be there again on Sunday. It's really hard to crystallize everything so quickly.
Len, the forecast calls for highs of 68 to 72 range each day, winds of 10 to 15 miles an hour, maybe spiking at 20 to 25, but that's really not much for over there. I'm telling you, they're going to obliterate this golf course. There will be more than a few pieces written by Saturday night, and certainly after Sunday, if it continues, if the weather does not get worse, windier, sideways rain, if it doesn't happen, there will be pieces written and debates happening on TV as to whether St. Andrews is indeed obsolete against today's players. There are at least 3 drivable par 4s. All the par 5s are reachable in 2. I mean, Tiger Woods, who certainly isn't the longest hitter anymore, in the celebration of champions, just hit and giggle on Monday afternoon, not only drove the green on 18, drove it through the green. I mean, it's just, it's firm, it's fast, and these guys are going to absolutely just take it to this golf course. We're going to see a lot of low scores. I'd expect something at least 20 under, maybe even 22 under winning this golf tournament this week. Again, that's weather dependent. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some 63s, 64s, maybe even a 62 to match Brandon Grace's all-time major championship record. Look, we saw Cameron Tringali shoot a 61 last week at the Scottish Open on a course which was playing ostensibly much tougher than the old course will play this week. I would not put that out of the realm of possibility. I've seen that at 20 to 1 in the betting marketplace, where you can find a guy shooting the all-time major championship record. I do think that could happen this week. So let's get into the DFS possibilities. We're looking at DraftKings this week, and we will make a lineup at the end of this, as we always do. It starts at the top with the favorite this week, Rory McIlroy. He's 11,100 on DraftKings, followed in the 5-digit range by Scotty Scheffler, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, and Jordan Spieth. Len, who do you like? Who do you hate?
Yeah, I think it's fair that Rory is the top guy. He's won this tournament. He's finished second in this tournament. He's finished third in this tournament. He's finished fourth in this tournament. He's finished fifth in this tournament. He has more experience than some of the other players. Not that that matters much to Colin Morikawa, but I think he does deserve to be the number one pick. And I like him, and he's playing well now with 3 top 10s in the majors already this year. The one consideration for Rory, and I did put him number one in my full field rankings, is the pressure. It seems like there's always so much pressure on him in the Open Championship. We saw what happened when it was in Northern Ireland in 2019 at Royal Portrush. He really just withered under the pressure, and maybe the weather as well. He didn't even make the cut. But I do like him. And I guess if I would pick a second guy, actually, I do like him as well as Jordan Spieth. I talked earlier about needing the imagination to be able to play different kinds of shots here. Jordan Spieth has won an Open. I think when we think of imagination, maybe we think of Tiger Woods first, and I do, and then I would think of Jordan Spieth second. And let's not forget that in 2015, Jordan Spieth came very close to getting in the playoff at St. Andrews, had a bogey on 17, missed the playoff by 1 shot. I'm sure he has not forgotten that. Those are my 2 plays in the top tier.
Lynn, I'm completely on the same page with you. I am all aboard the Rory train this week. I think every narrative is pointing in his direction. It feels very much like Jon Rahm prior to last year's U.S. Open, where he was the betting favorite and every sign was pointing right at him. And we looked at it and said, well, it's a short number, and yeah, he's expensive in DFS. Do I really want to do it? And the answer was yes, you really want to do it. And it made way too much sense. I think Rory makes way too much sense this week. I really like him. And here's a little fast fact for you. The 50th ever edition of the Masters tournament was 1986. A guy named Jack Nicklaus won that week. The 100th U.S. Open was back in 2000 at Pebble Beach. Tiger Woods won by 15 that week. The 150th Open Championship, look, if the trend holds, the pattern, the coincidence, whatever you want to call it, I don't think we're going to have somebody who comes out of left field and wins this thing. I think it's going to be a big name player, and my money quite literally will be on Rory McIlroy this week. He might be the only guy that I play outright this week just because I like him that much. I get that it's a short number. I get that he's expensive in DFS, but to me, I have not made, and I will, but I've not made a lineup yet of all the lineups that I've made so far. And we're speaking now on Monday afternoon that doesn't have Rory in it. I like him that much. Moving down the list a little bit, I'm right with you on the number 2 guy, and he'll be, I'm going to rank the field as well. Should be out Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm going to have Rory number 1, obviously. And number 2 on my list is Jordan Spieth for all the reasons that you mentioned. His creativity around the greens gives him a nice little advantage there. I assume we're going to see the full Spieth spectrum again this week, as we saw last week, holding out wedge shots from the fairway, missing 4-footers for par. I mean, it's just a little bit of everything, but I do think the good is going to outweigh the bad. I'm neutral on Scheffler and Morikawa, and I'm fading Jon Rahm and Justin Thomas, neither of whom have really had their best stuff recently. All right, we move down below 10,000, and Len, there's something very interesting here because unlike most weeks in DFS, the pricing was out, about a week ago, even more than that. And so when you look here, you go, whoa, Xander Schauffele, the hottest player in the game. If they were to do the prices on Monday after he won the Scottish Open, My guess is Xander would be somewhere in the 10-7, 10-8 range. Instead, he's at 9,900. Maybe that's a little bit of a discount on Xander Schauffele. That said, if you and I know it, everybody else knows it too. And so if you're playing a big contest, a GPP, well, Xander's the type of guy that's going to get a lot of love from the public this week. He's followed in the 9,000s by Matt Fitzpatrick, Will Zalatoris, Cameron Smith, Patrick Cantlay, Shane Lowry, Dustin Johnson, Hideki Matsuyama, and Victor Hovland. Where are you going from this tier?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm right on you with Xander Schauffele. I checked this morning as I'm writing. He shot up in the sports book to 12-1 to number 2, right behind Rory. We have the advantage, as does everyone else playing DFS, that his price is really undervalued at 99. And for whatever it was, I looked at him. He was 10,000 last year, so he's even gone down from last year. He's the hottest player going. He does well in all the majors. Generally, this, I guess, would be his worst major, but he does have a runner-up here in 2018 at Carnoustie, Francesco Molinari's win. So he can play this course. I don't think I'm separating myself there by telling people about Xander Schauffele, and probably similarly with Matt Fitzpatrick. One of the most impressive things about Matt Fitzpatrick, beside winning the US Open, was that he came back right in his next start at the Scottish Open, and he was right in the thick of things again. Didn't have that hangover, didn't have that major hangover, everything. Maybe the pressure will be ratcheted up a little bit more this week. Cam Smith, I'm probably in the tank too much for Cam Smith just about every week. But if things start to get dicey and you really need to play around the green and stuff, that's where he can come into play. So I would check the weather. If the weather gets worse, I think my interest in Cam Smith would get better. And Shane Lowry, I had only 8 guys in my top tier of rankings favorites, normally 10 or 12. I had really trouble coming up with that many this week. Shane Lowry was in that top 8 at number 8, 9,300. I mean, that's $600 cheaper than Xander Schauffele right there. It's big separation from the top guys all the way down to 93. I like him for a lot of obvious reasons as a great player on the links. He's won. He was 12th last year.
Yeah, so I've got 3 guys from this range that I really like, and a couple for obvious reasons. You mentioned 2 of them at the end there. Cameron Smith, look, the one thing he doesn't do well is find fairways. It doesn't necessarily matter on this golf course. Now, granted, you don't want to hit your drives into the face of pot bunkers, but quite frankly, that's just blind luck anyway. Whether you hit it, 320 down the middle and it skirts a bunker and goes another 50 yards down the fairway, or catches the lip and rolls into the bunker and you got to chip it out sideways. I hate to say it because we look at analytics, we look at metrics, we look at all the data, but luck is going to play a big part in what happens this week. Cameron Smith, hey, look, maybe like spraying it and taking the bunkers completely out of play could be a decent play this week. But no, I do think Cam is a really nice play. I like him where you can use the ground to play the ball. Patrick Cantlay is a little interesting. He's almost like Colin Morikawa in that we've expected him to play really well at majors, and yet this wouldn't be the one where we'd think it was going to happen, and yet Morikawa did it last year. Cantlay was very good last week at the Scottish Open. That surprised me. I probably won't have a lot of Cantlay. I do really like Shane Lowry. He burned me at the US Open. He was my favorite play on the board. He putted horribly and missed the cut by 1. I think he'll come back and play better this week. And then here's a little sort of, I know we don't get contrarian plays in the 9,000 range usually. It's guys that we all know and we all like. Victor Hovland has really done everything pretty well this year. He's in the top 30 in strokes gained off the tee, approach shots, and putting. Around the green, we all know he can't chip. And he's dead last on the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the greens. Well, around the greens here at St. Andrews is essentially a putter. If he doesn't ever want to take out a wedge, he doesn't have to. And I think that will negate and minimize his disadvantage on this golf course. Hasn't played well for months, but I think you can get Victor Hovland at maybe a decent ownership percentage, get some leverage there in the DFS marketplace. So I like him. One other note, Will Zalatoris at 9,600 also feels a little like Morikawa last year. Well, where, look, we can get burned. He's a world-class ball striker. And even if he doesn't have that much links experience, look, it worked for Morikawa. it can work for Zalatoris, but I just don't like it. I think too many people are just going to blindly look at him and say, he plays great at majors, I'm going to take him. I don't like Zalatoris this week. I will hold off on Zalatoris in a major for another 9 months until we get to Augusta. So that's what I'm looking at in the eights or in the nines. Look at the eights. Sam Burns, Louis Oosthuizen, Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, Brooks Koepka, Tony Finau, Sungjae Im, Corey Connors, Bryson DeChambeau, and Joaquin Niemann. Some good options there. You're probably going to need to have at least one of these guys in the lineup. Where are you looking?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have Louis Oosthuizen in my lineup. I don't know if I will, but he is such a hard guy, at least for me. I mean, candidly, he's a live guy. I'm not thrilled with that. He's won at St. Andrews. He finished second at St. Andrews. He's not the player he was 7 years ago, but he's still a pretty good player, and I think he's going to get a lot of attention there. So maybe I can more justify staying away from him, that he'll have high ownership. I would throw out Tyrrell Hatton, not for a cash game, but for a GPP or tournament game. He's $8,700. He is maddening, probably to himself as well. He's played 9 opens. He's made only 3 cuts. 2 of them were 6th place. Talk about, that's him in a nutshell, right? And then he's talking to his putter, and he's blaming, who knows, Valley of the Sin or something on something out there. So yeah, he's not for the faint of heart, but if there is tremendous upside with Tyrrell Hatton at 8,700. Tommy Fleetwood at 86. I liked him last week. I know we didn't have a podcast last week, but I did like him, and he came in top 5 again for a lot. I'm going with a lot of these Brits. This is more familiar with them. Tommy Fleetwood has performed well on some opens. He's also a terrific scrambler, which I don't think a lot of people really think about with Tommy Fleetwood, but he is, and that will come in handy this week. And my last play in the 8,000s down at 8,400, Tony Finau, Utah, very far from Britain, but he's had great success in this tournament before. I don't know if he's ever missed a cut. He hasn't had a top. Well, he did finish 3rd one year, but he's finished 18th, 27th, 9th, 2 top 10s, and a 15th last year. So he plays these courses. He has not played St. Andrews, but he plays the Open Rota pretty darn well.
Yeah, and he's been playing well lately, too. You look at him, 13th in the Travelers, missed the cut at the U.S. Open, but runner-up at the Canadian Open and 4th at Colonial. He has really started turning it on here in the summer. I'm sort of on the same page with you. Tyrrell Hatton is your prototypical high ceiling, low floor type of player. Yes, he has a chance to be in contention come the back 9 on Sunday. He also has a chance to be smashing his 4-iron into some car window while walking off the golf course on Friday afternoon. And I'm not sure which one is a better chance for Hatton. So just kind of know what you're getting into if you put him into a lineup. I agree. He's more of a GPP play than a cash game play. Tommy Fleetwood, I echo everything you said. We didn't have a pod last week. He was my favorite play on the board. Would have been nicer if he had got just a few more birdies on Sunday and maybe had a chance to win that thing at the end. Instead, finishes top 5. I think it's been a long time coming for Tommy, where he's started playing some solid, consistent golf. I do believe he needed last week where just one of those finishes, just something up there on the leaderboard, get the juices flowing again. The hair is always flowing. I think Tommy Fleetwood's going to be a guy. I've got him actually 3rd on my ranking of the field this week. Rory, Jordan, and then Tommy. And then I'm going to throw another name out at you. This is, maybe you put it in the all-combustible, high-ceiling, low-floor squad with Hovland and Hatton, as I mentioned. But Bryson DeChambeau, look, I get it. As soon as I mention the name, people are going, oh, come on, hey, Bryson. Hey, he doesn't have a top 50 in a full field event since last August. I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you, I love Bryson, he's going to win. Think about it. I'm not sure that he's fully healthy, but if he is, Bryson can absolutely pound driver all over the place on this golf course. We talk about Victor Hovland negating the disadvantage that he sometimes has with the wedges around the greens. Bryson DeChambeau, worst part of his game is the iron play. He might not hit an iron all week. It might be literally driver, couple of wedges, and a putter. I'll go out there with, one of those little carry bags, and I don't even need to bring that many clubs. I just have 4 of them because he's just not going to need to hit that many out there. Look, I don't necessarily want to put him in a lot of lineups, but if you're going with our buddy Reed Fowler from DraftKings, also often talks about stacking your lineups. And I know this is more of a football or a baseball type of strategy where football, okay, I'm taking Mahomes and I'm going to take 3 other Chiefs receivers. And if he throws touchdowns to each of those guys, I'm going to win. I'm going to take the 2 through 5 hitters in the Yankees lineup. If they all hit home runs, I'm going to win some money today. You don't think about it in terms of golf, but if you're looking at a essentially combustible lineup, I'm going with guys who are all or nothing, who are going to be really good or really bad. Let's try it. I don't mind putting Bryson in that type of lineup this week, Len. All right, let's move down to the 7,000s, starting with Max Homa, as Daniel Berger is out of the tournament at 79. Starts with Homa and works its way down. Who are some names you like here?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback quickly on what you said there. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing, and I don't think it would be a good thing, but it could happen. This tournament, they always talk about it opens and other big tournaments, you got to use every club in your bag. But really, this could be driver wedge, driver wedge, driver wedge, and that would not be a good thing for the old course. It would not be a good thing for the Open Championship. I hope that doesn't happen, but it certainly could happen. 7,000s. Max Homa, I don't think I'm ready to play him. He's certainly been playing better in the majors. He played very well last week. He went out and famously played another 18 after his round on Friday and played another links round. So you could see his dedication. And he faded a little bit on Sunday. Maybe he was just tired, but he's certainly just off my list there. Who I like, Webb Simpson, $7,600. If this gets into a short game wedge putter, he's made 8 of 9 cuts at the Open Championship, top 20s 2 of the past 3 years. Seamus Power, I've actually been seeing him a lot in a lot of places, so this is not going to be necessarily a cash game play. $7,400. He's had a great year in the majors. Never played an Open before. He was 30th at the Irish Open last week or 2 weeks ago. I think that was kind of pressure filled for him. Some more Euros here. Westwood, Justin Rose, Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith, another top 25 last week at the Scottish, top 25 at the Irish. I think he's got 7 top 25s in a row now. What impressed me last week, and he is 7,200, impressed me last week. He really moved up in class last week. The field was much stronger at the Scottish than anything he played before, and he was still able to do it. And I'm going to go throw 2 other names down at the bottom of the 7s, Harris English, Danny Willett. I think underpriced. I think they can both make it to the weekend.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of names. I'm just going to run through the list here. But it starts with Max Homa. I know you said you're not totally sold on him. I think Homa's a really nice play. I think you have to think, though, especially in big contests, and I was asked on my radio show today, I was hosting with Gary Williams. Gary said, is Max Homa getting the love in the betting marketplace that he should? I said, he's probably getting too much of it right now because he's a popular guy. He's on social media. A lot of people like him. A lot of people want to bet with their hearts as much as their heads. Hey, if I'm going to root for somebody this week, I want to root for Max because I really like him. I think the same thing goes for DFS. Yes, we all want to win money, but sometimes you throw a guy in your lineup because you like the guy. And so I think Max Homa's ownership percentages are often maybe a couple of points higher just because people like Max Homa. They want to root for Max Homa, and they want to have him in their lineup just so they can do that on a given week. That said, I do really like him. I love Robert McIntyre at his price this week, $7,600. I think it's a great price for him. He's played 2 Open Championships. He's got a 6th and an 8th place finish. I'll say it, Tiger Woods, I think he makes the cut this week. I think he can have 2 good rounds, sort of like the Masters, where it's like he's hanging around for 2 rounds, maybe falls off the pace a little bit. But if he's ever going to play well somewhere, this seems like it would be the place. He's had it circled on his calendar for a while. It's more of a make cut, maybe a top 30, top 40 prop bet this week for me, more so than a DFS play at this number. But if you really like it, I don't necessarily hate it. Thomas Peters has played some good golf. Ryan Fox has played really well. Sahith Theegala, the last player in the field after Daniel Berger withdrew late last week. I think it's a really nice play at 7,100. I was very interested to see where they would price him at since he got in there late. And then lastly, the name that you mentioned, Jordan Smith, and this goes back to the early pricing that they put out for this event, Len. Jordan Smith is a guy that a week ago, I'm not sure a whole lot of people were looking at. I'm not sure a whole lot of people even knew his name. They're like, wait, Jordan Spieth? Cameron Smith? Who are you talking about? No, Jordan Smith plays primarily on the DP World Tour. He's had a great season, made that hole-in-one last week. They showed it on TV a million times. And so now I think everyone's looking at Jordan Smith, and probably the ownership percentage is going to be much higher than it would have been originally, but he is at a really good price. Just know that if we know it and you know it listening out there, everybody else knows it as well. So I could see a lot of people on Smith this week. All right, 6,000s. You always have a few nice plays for us in this range. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to struggle here. I am going to struggle here. It's I keep wanting to look at guys, and every time I look at somebody who I like them for a reason, I could find a reason not like them. I mean, one guy I really like, and this is before he finished third at the Scottish Open. I had him down to make the cut this week, is Ju Young Kim, the Korean. You know, very often we see some of these players come over from Asia, and and they're tearing up the Asian tour, the Japan tour, and they just don't get it done here. And he is showing that he can be different. He's only 20 years old. I liked him because he was 17th at the Byron Nelson. He was top 25 at the US Open, even before he finished third last week. So unfortunately, though, I think, again, he's going to be a popular play. He's only 6,500. He's another guy who would be maybe in the 7,200 range if the prices came out after the Scottish Open. Kevin Kisner, 6,900. I don't think we think of Kevin Kisner when we think of the Open, but he makes the cut most of the time. And especially if the short game really, pans out and you really need to play well around the greens, and he'll get extra distance from his drives where it's always where he is hurt. I like him as well. And maybe Stuart Sink at $6,800. He's played well in the Opens through the years, and I think he's played enough of these courses to know how to play them. Whether at 49 years old, the skill level is still there, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of names in this range that I want to get to, and I think, at least for me and my way of thinking, I don't necessarily want to do a stars and scrubs kind of lineup this week, but if I'm trying to wedge Rory and Jordan, my two favorite players, into the same lineup, I'm going to have to dip down to the 6,000s at some point. But I do think there's some value here. Kisner, you just mentioned, he's played well at the Open in the past. I think he's a guy that doesn't hit it a long way, but I don't think you need to this week. It's fast and firm. He can flight his golf ball down. I like that. Keith Mitchell is a guy that, look, I just every single week I say the same thing. I really like him. He remains undervalued in the marketplace. Played well on the weekend at the Scottish last week. Some other names: Lucas Herbert, Audrey Arnaus, Justin Harding, Jason Scrivener. Thomas Dietrich is one of my absolute favorite plays in the field this week. 2 top 20s in his last 3 starts. This kid is really, really good. He hasn't won on the DP World Tour, but he has 9 career top 3 finishes. The guy is a very solid player. 6,600 is a great number for him. And then a player, I'm going to admit, I didn't know who Tristan Lawrence was until about a month ago, but this kid's playing some really good golf right now. South African. He's got some game. Played well last week. I would take a chance on him. I don't think the ownership percentage is going to be too high on Tristan Lawrence this week. All right. As we do every single week on the pod, Len, time to make our own lineup on DraftKings. You're up first. Where do you want to go with this thing?
Yeah, I think we're both going to want to get our big guns in here. So we're going to have to figure out how to do it somehow. But I'll throw your favorite. I'll leave for you. My favorite is Jordan Spieth. I actually think that he is a pretty good price here. I could see him being a few $100s more there. So he, just for the reasons, the course history, he played well last week. Played well at St. Andrews, $10,000.
Look, you and I both have the same two names at the top. It's Jordan, it's Rory McIlroy, and so let's load up with the top guys that we both like and try to find some value elsewhere. But 11,100, I'm still going to have a lot of Rory McIlroy this week. That leaves us with 4 spots left and an average remaining player of 7,225. So, yeah, we've got to save a little bit of money. But like I said, there's some names. It's not like no names below that number.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go a little bit under there. And I'm going to go Danny Willett. Danny Willett, if I can say this affectionately, seems to me sometimes to be a bit of a knucklehead. He just seems to he really has game. When he has game, he really has game. I mean, I know that Jordan Spieth kicked away the Masters, but he was the one right there waiting for it. So, and he's won some tournaments. He now has a DP World Tour tournament named after him, the British Masters, sponsored by Danny Willett or something. But he's made 7 of 9 cuts in opens. He has a pair of top 10s in the opens. This seems to be one of his best weeks of the year every year. 7,000, we can get him through the weekend.
I like that. I'm going back and forth between 3 guys here. 7,300 per player left to spend in the last 3. Robert McIntyre's at 7,800. I like that. Jordan Spieth at 72. I like that. Actually, 4 players, I guess. Thomas Dietrich at 66. I might still get to Dietrich. This is tough. Quite frankly, when I make a lot of lineups, I'll have each combination of this. But for the sake of the pod, I'm going to 7,100. Just because there's a guy who's obviously in form. He, by all records, all accounts, is super thrilled to be in this field, the last man in the field. I'm telling you, at some point in the next 2 to 3 years, Sahith Theegala is going to be one of the favorites at a major championship. He is that good. I don't know if he can play on links. I don't know if he's got what it takes to figure out Scottish golf this quickly. What I do know is he's got a tremendous amount of talent. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him this week. At 7,100, I feel pretty good about Theegala.
Yeah, just an incredible talent. I was very happy to see him get into the field. I'm actually surprised that now the first alternate, Alex Noren, has not gotten in and doesn't look like he will get in. He would have been a guy to consider as well. I don't know if he has a DFS price, probably not. Okay, so what are we left with here?
7,400 per man.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go. As you were just struggling with that last pick, I'm struggling here as well. I'm going to go another 7,000. I mean, Harris English has really impressed me that he's gotten back to being in form so quickly after his hip surgery. And then he showed that he could play back-to-back weeks and the hip still held up. I don't know how high a finish he'll have this week, but I'm pretty sure he'll make the cut. He's not a young kid anymore. He has played enough opens to kind of figure out how to get around the course and navigate his way to the weekend. And I think that's what we're going to need, because certainly with Spieth and McIlroy, not a lot of room to negotiate. And also it's going to be very hard to get 6 for 6. I really think get your guy through to the weekend and then hope something good happens there.
Well, you left me 7,800, and that makes my decision pretty easy. I love Robert McIntyre this week, the local kid from Scotland. He's played 9 major championships. He's made the cut in all of them. Hasn't been a great year for him. He's fallen outside the top 100 in the world ranking, but I really think that he's had this one circled on his calendar for a long time. He was mad. He called himself livid after missing the cut at the Scottish Open last week. I think he bounces back in a big way at this one. 7,800 spends all our money, but I do think we've differentiated enough. Harris English, Bob McIntyre, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Sahith Theegala, and Danny Willett. What do you think, Len?
If you would have told me after McIlroy and Spieth that we wouldn't have to dip into the 6,000s at all,
yeah,
I would have not believed you. But
yeah, how about that? Yeah, we were able to
No,
manage
yeah. I mean, I think
four
we
guys
want to
to
have, I think when you have a lineup, obviously there's an advantage to having the winner. There's bonus points and everything. You want to have the winner this week, duh. But if you can get two big guns, two of the guys who you think can win, and that's what we've done with our lineup, that's pretty good to get 2 out of 6 right there.